Hey, everybody. Welcome to the third week of Come On In Bills. Hopefully, everyone's doing well tonight and everybody's having a good time. So, appreciate you guys tuning in. And what a great week it was. We had some great games going on this weekend. Most importantly, the best game we had was obviously the Bills game. And that was the most important game of the week as far as I was concerned. And for those of you that tuned in and watched it, not too shabby. 47-10. For those of you that went to the game, I am very jealous of you all. Hopefully you got to enjoy it. Some of you probably left a little bit early because of the score, which I can understand. Certainly want to get home, try and beat that traffic if you need to. But overall, it was a great game. If you look at the stat lines, first half alone jumped out at everybody, I think, at this point, as far as looking at what Josh Allen was doing and what the rest of the team was doing. I mean, when you looked at the first half, we had a touchdown on all 5 drives. They weren't going to stop us no matter what they tried to do at that point. Up 34-3 at half. So, first of all, happy to see us beating the Jags because after London last year, I still feel salty about that. Not that I went to that. But for some reason, the Jags always seem to be one of those teams we play and struggle against. So, to have touchdowns on all first 5 drives was impressive. It felt like there wasn't anything that was going to stop this team on Monday night. And a lot of people I still think have concerns about the offense. But when you look at Joe Brady coming in, stepping in, what he's been able to do with this team and what he's been able to do with Allen, with the loss of Davis and Diggs, it hasn't missed a beat. And it's incredibly impressive to see. I mean, the final 47-10 was the 4th largest margin of victory in team history by 37 points. That's impressive. And when you think of the Bills and some of the great teams that they've had over the years, the fact that 37-point margin victory is the 4th largest is wild. I mean, you think about the 90s Bills teams, some of the earlier teams we've had with Allen, and the fact that that's one of the largest margins of victory we've had is wild to me. It just shows Allen, as he's continued to mature, as he's continued to evolve in this team and what they've been able to do, regardless of the weapons he has. Every year it seems there's a little bit different flavor to this team, and he finds a way to continue to make this team better year after year after year. Obviously, we still need to go over that hump, but the fact that every year it seems to be an improvement, and here we are sitting at 3-0 in week 3, right? Competition hasn't been the hardest. I'm not going to sit here and say, it hasn't been an easy schedule, but it hasn't been a hard schedule either. Right. So now we're going to start getting into some of the meats and the potatoes of it. We got the Ravens coming up week 4. We're going to be playing the Jets. Obviously, those division games are always key. And right now, it looks like the Jets are the other ones that are going to be pushing for the AFC East title. I would say with Tua out, Skylar Thompson's hurt. Not sure what the Dolphins are going to do. If I'm them, I'm picking up the phone. Honestly, I'm probably calling Ryan Tannehill, looking for somebody to come fill in that can possibly pick up that offense pretty quick and make an impact. The other thing I love to see in this game, 2 of our rookies, Keon Coleman and Ray Davis, first NFL touchdowns, right? Spreading the ball around. So obviously Keon Coleman, he was our first pick in the draft in the 2nd round. After those of you that tuned in with the rest of the fam when we did our NFL draft episode, I was not pleased to see us trading down with the Chiefs into the 2nd round, but we picked up Coleman and he did well. I mean, he has first touchdown. Ray Davis, I love Ray Davis out of Kentucky. I think that kid is going to be something special. He's strong. He's fast. He sees the holes well, and he moves quick to them. I think he's going to be a really good back. So I was glad to see both of those guys be able to step in, get some action, and make an impact, right? And then I think the thing we were probably all most excited about and honestly a little concerned with, Damar Hamlin, first career interception. So congratulations, Damar. Place was going crazy. Totally understandable why. I mean, this guy literally died on the field and came back to play, is out there playing, gets his first career interception at home on Monday Night Football with a packed stadium. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better moment for him for that, and just to see where he's really come to as far as, his development as a player and what he means to Buffalo. So I was very happy to see him do that. And Dolph, if you're watching, my friend, one of my favorite things, Dorian Williams. Dorian Williams coming in. He's rocking this year. Absolutely rocking. 11 total tackles to lead the team. Past 2 games, he's had 10 plus tackles. Obviously, got out of Tulane. Not the biggest, most well-known school for football, but the past couple of years has been definitely a contender. And it's started to make a statement. And, for a guy drafted in 2023, you worry about Matt Milano going down earlier in the year, the impact that's going to have. Was Von Miller going to be where he's at? And you see guys like Von Miller healthy in the impact he's making, right? You see Rousseau stepping up. And now you see Dorian Williams finally getting a shot to step up and help lead this defense as well. And he's taking that opportunity. Losing Milano is one of those things we are all sitting there looking at each other as Bills fans thinking, he's not coming back till December, maybe January. What do we do? What are we going to do about that? How are we going to survive? How are we going to push through? And what I love about this team, it's always next man up, right? Like, no matter who goes down, no matter what happens, somebody's always stepping up into that role, and they're making that impact. And that's the biggest thing that we need right now, because the way it's been going, you just never know, especially in this league. And one of my favorite things about Josh Allen this year, everyone was worried when Diggs and Davis left. I'm not going to lie. I was concerned. I'm a big Gabe Davis fan. He didn't do much this past game, which fine, because I don't want him being the Bills or beating up on us. But we're all worried about how are we going to replace these guys? How are we going to replace all these captains that we lost? And you look at what Allen's been doing. He had one game with 9 different receivers. This game, he had 10 different receivers. He's spreading the ball around everywhere. And he's still continuing to make this offense move. And the crazy part about this that I love more than anything is some of these guys that you expect to have the big years. Like for me, Kincaid, I think the guy is something special. I think he is a younger, and I hate to say this name, but I'm going to say it because he is great. And you got to give him credit where credit's due. He is a Travis Kelce-esque player. He is a big difference maker. He's a large wide receiver, basically, with fantastic hands. Love the guy coming out of Utah, and was pumped when we drafted him, especially when you had Dawson Knox already, right? A healthy Knox, and then you put Kincaid there as well. Those 2 tight end sets that, unfortunately, the Patriots used to run years and years ago with Gronk and Hernandez that used to throw us fits. Great to see us being able to do that. But the fact that Allen's spreading the ball around, he's not as reliant on Stephon Diggs. The offense doesn't have to run through one guy anymore. And I think that's where we always got stuck is you take Diggs out of the game. Okay, maybe we can get some vertical threats to Davis. Maybe not, right? Gabe Davis gets shut down, and we all saw it last year. There would literally be games he was invisible. He would have no targets, no receptions. It wasn't even like he was on the field. And he'd either be thrown to Diggs or, younger Kincaid a year earlier. And then the back end of the season when Joe Brady came in, you started seeing Shakir being more involved, which crazy statistic. I didn't actually know this till the other day. And for those of you that don't know this, but Shakir's hauled in 27 consecutive targets, which ties Michael Thomas's mark in 2018 for the longest streak in the NFL by a wide receiver since such stats were tracked in 1991. That's wild. I actually have a friend, Danny, who is a sales rep for the company we work for, actually out in Boise, in Idaho. He actually goes to a lot of the Boise State games. And when they drafted Shakir, he reached out to me and was like, you're going to love this guy. Like, you're really going to love this guy. And it's wild because I feel like he's a very underrated, underappreciated receiver. And no one really thinks a lot about him, especially, if you're a Bills fan, you do. Obviously, we all know him. We love him, right? But if you're not a Bills fan, he's not a guy that jumps off the page at you that when you start naming receivers, he's going to be in that top 10 list of names, right? He's not going to be some of these young guys, the Nico Collins, Jalen Waddles, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb. Like, he's not going to be in that conversation necessarily. But when you look at that statistic, that's crazy. It's 2 things. 1, Allen's putting the ball where he can get it. And 2, Shakir just has amazing hands, right? That is as reliable as it comes. So the fact that he has the opportunity to set this NFL record, and granted, it's kind of a random record, didn't even know about this one until the other day. It is pretty wild. And when you've got a solid quarterback like Josh Allen, and you've got a great wide receiver, and you've got all these weapons, it allows him to get the separation, allows him to get the opportunities to get that ball. And, you look at Allen in this game, 23-30, 263, 4 touchdowns, and then leads the team in carries for 44 yards, right? Not the typical Josh stat line we normally see, and not because of the 4 touchdowns or anything like that. Josh throws a lot of touchdowns. no interceptions, most critical piece right there. And he led the team rushing with 44 yards. We didn't have to do a whole lot. I mean, this game was over at halftime. I mean, it was pretty much everyone left and the game was over. I mean, we only put up 13 points in the second half because we didn't really need to do a whole lot. Just play keep away, basically. But if you look at Allen this year and the way he's playing, it's a very different level. It's a very different Josh Allen. He's still running. That has slowed down some. And I think that's because James Cook has stepped up more. And I think Ray Davis is definitely providing some help in there as well. And obviously, he's always going to take off. That's never going to change with Allen. That's just part of his game. It's part of who he is. He's going to push for the first down if he has to and use his legs. The fact that he led the team with 44 yards, slightly concerning. I don't love when Josh does that, only because I don't want him ring. He's a quarterback, so try not to do that. Please don't ever get hurt. But 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, on the season, the fact that Josh Allen, and this has always been a huge knock against him, and it drives us Bills fans absolutely mad, is turnovers. He was considered the most overrated player by NFL players at the beginning of the season, and quietly, or maybe not quietly, Josh Allen is just tearing it up this year. Team's 3-0. He's playing, at this point, a career year as far as I'm concerned. I mean, no turnovers as far as interceptions go, 2 rushing touchdowns already on the season. And you can't ask for much more out of that guy. I mean, when you've got your quarterback's there to manage the game, right? For instance, you can have a quarterback like Josh Allen who's going to go off the wall and just put up crazy points. Or you can have, let's say, and I'll give another 3-0 team, Justin Fields. He's not lighting up the scoreboard, but that team's winning. And I will say this, and whatever, you can criticize me for it all you want. It's one of those things that Justin Fields, first of all, I'm happy for the guy, right? I think he got a kind of a bad shake in Chicago, and I'm really happy that he's gotten an opportunity to step into a role with the Steelers, even though they're in the same conference as us. But Mike Tomlin has got to be the most consistently average coach that can keep his job. I mean, that team always finishes above 500, but never seems to go anywhere lately. And the man still keeps his job because they keep somehow managing to win. And Justin Fields hasn't been doing great, but they've been winning. And unlike the Bills, where we're just kind of lighting up the scoreboard. Anne-Marie, checking in regards to see the construction of the new Buffalo Bills stadium. It's going to be pretty amazing. I am really excited to see what the finished product looks like. Obviously, it's right next door to the home stadium now, but it's going to be, I think, one of those things that's going to be very impressive. People are mad about the fact if it's a dome or not a dome. And it's one of those things that I like the snow. I've been to the games in the snow and the cold and the wind, and I think it's awesome. It's something about being a Bills fan. Being in a dome, it just wouldn't feel right. There's something about being out in the elements that just makes it special. And most of the seats are supposed to be covered, supposedly. We'll see what that looks like when it's all done. But from the mock-ups and what they're showing as the models, most of the seats are going to be covered in the upper deck. And really the field's going to be the main part that's impacted. But also going to be very expensive from what it's sounding like from PSL holders or needing to get PSL. So we'll see how that goes. So we'll see how that is. Yeah, and a live YouTube channel, which is pretty cool. Gotta love technology. So, but yeah, Allen's going off this year. He is the first player to complete 75% of passes, throw for 4 touchdowns, lead the team in rushing, and have no turnovers and sacks in a game in NFL history. And yet he's still considered overrated. I don't get it. I don't know what this man has to do other than win us a Super Bowl at some point, which we're all hoping for, right? And praying for. And I believe it's going to come. I will always believe it's going to come. We're Bills fans. That's what we do. We're always going to believe, right? Believe. And it's going to happen at some point. But the fact that everyone considers him still overrated, I can't wrap my head around that. Statistically, he's a phenomenal quarterback. Yeah, turnovers are always a knock against him, but he also, if you look at what an MVP is, he consistently puts up great numbers for touchdowns. 4 past years, he's had 40+ touchdowns. I mean, that's a guy that's getting the job done, whether it's on the ground or through the air. And to call him overrated, that's tough to swallow. But he's finally getting some credit where credit's due, and he's currently the favorite to win the MVP this year. Now, granted, we're 3 weeks in, so small sample size, right? Like that can change any given day. But the fact that he's got 75% completion rate, 634 yards, 7 touchdowns, and most importantly, for all of the Josh Allen haters out there, no interceptions. No interceptions. Patrick Mahomes has had interceptions, not Josh Allen. Patrick Mahomes, though, is just behind Josh Allen. I believe Patrick Mahomes is plus 250 to win it. Josh Allen's plus 200 right now on odds, I believe, if you do sports betting and all that crazy stuff. And don't forget, obviously, we have 2 rushing touchdowns as well on top of that. So in 3 games, he's got 9 touchdowns and a 75% completion rate. Like, I'm not seeing how that's overrated in any level. I don't care. I don't care if we're playing the worst teams in the NFL in the beginning of the season, and we're not necessarily Jaguars and looking a little suspect lately. But the fact that regardless, these are the best athletes in the world that are playing, right? So you always get those cries from people of, well, if you took Alabama when Alabama was better and put them up against the worst NFL team, Alabama could win. No, I'm sorry. I will never, ever be on the side of, yes, a college team, the best college team would beat the worst NFL team. Not going to happen. I would be shocked because you have the best players in the world of all of college on these teams, even if it is the worst NFL team. So, say what you will, but Josh Allen, MVP, I hope. I really do, because he's played so well for this team for so long, and I would love to see him finally get the credit where credit's due. And it's one of those things, you sit back and you look at him and you look at the body of work. An MVP, most valuable player, right? Like, how much does he mean to this team? This team, you take Josh Allen out of this offense, you take Josh Allen out of this team, is not the same team on any level. The impact that he makes is so head and shoulders above other players in the NFL. And look, I'm even going to say Patrick Mahomes, because I think a lot of Patrick Mahomes is due to Travis Kelce. The Bills are the Bills because of Josh Allen. Period. You have Stephon Diggs there. Okay, great. Josh Allen does this. You take Stephon Diggs out, doesn't matter. Josh finds 10 receivers to throw to this past game. 10. That's insane. 10. Like, I still think about that. Like, that's wild. Like, you're literally throwing to the water boy at that point as well and saying, hey, by the way, I got a reception for you. I mean, it's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. And it's a fun team to watch this year. I mean, they're just a different team. And I can't help but wonder if we put such a price from an emotional standpoint on guys like Diggs and Davis and some of these players that we had that we've now lost, that we thought, and I'll admit it, I was concerned that we thought that they were going to be worse because we didn't have them. I just didn't want the Diggs drama. I was sick of it. End of the year, every year, there's always something with Josh and Diggs. And it's like, how many times can you watch the same play over and over? And you know what? Hey, I'm happy for Diggs. Whatever. He did a lot for us. I'm not going to sit here and, throw stones at him. And he's honestly doing a great job in Houston so far. I mean, I believe 2 of the games, especially the last game, he's been leading the team in receptions. So, for having a great team out in Houston and having the opportunity to have guys like Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and Stephon Diggs, I think everyone thought he'd be an afterthought, but he's getting his opportunities to really make a difference on that team, except this past week, which didn't see Houston losing that game. That was kind of a weird game. And, I mean, honestly, you look at some of these players, they've revived their careers. Look at Sam Darnold, right? Drafted above Josh Allen, right up there with Josh Rosen, which that didn't work out well. But you look at Sam Darnold, all of a sudden, he's the savior of Minnesota. I mean, J.J. McCarthy goes down, everyone's freaking out. Like, well, we only have Sam Darnold. What are we going to do? Sam Darnold's quietly just going and doing his thing up there and getting it done. And honestly, I'm happy for the guy. Didn't work out well in New York. Didn't work out in Carolina, which apparently is not the place you want to be unless you're Andy Dalton. But seeing these guys really step back into where they were. But Josh Allen's always been consistent. Lamar Jackson, same thing, consistent. And I said this last show, and I still believe this. And we get to play him in our week 4 game, which I'll break down later this week, which I'm very excited for. Jackson and Allen. two quarterbacks where everyone kind of thought, these guys aren't that good. They're not going to make it in the NFL. They get drafted at the back end of the first round. Like, they're not going to be good quarterbacks. We're going to take Josh Rosen. We're going to take Sam Darnold. We're going to take Baker. To Baker's credit, he's actually doing pretty well, like down in Tampa. And obviously, as you guys know, I'm an OU fan, so like happy for Baker doing what he's doing down there. But for them to sit there and cast shade on Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, they've proven a lot of people wrong. And now we just need Josh Allen to get the credit that he deserves. And I don't know what else he can do other than win us a Super Bowl at this point, because he puts up the numbers year after year, and it's not enough. And I'm excited for this next game against the Ravens because I'm excited to see Josh go up against Lamar and see what this looks like, because I really feel good about the team this year. I don't think the Ravens are as good as everyone thinks they are. I like the fact that you have two quarterbacks with a similar type of skill set, both very mobile, both have good arms, being able to go against each other. And honestly, if you look at the way they're playing right now, a lot of that offense in the Ravens is very, run first, basically, or throw to Zay Flowers, is where we have a plethora of weapons at Josh's disposal. Pick your poison, basically. You can't cover everybody. And if you do cover everybody, he's going to take off and run. So I think this team is different. I'm actually probably more excited about this team than I have been a Bills team in years now that I'm seeing it develop, because you just didn't know how it was going to shake out going into the season because there were so many question marks about what was going to happen with guys leaving, with Milano getting hurt. And it was like, is this doom and gloom? Is this the year that we don't win the AFC East and that we're going to struggle to get through the season? And then you guys have Williams stepping up. Von Miller's healthy. Rousseau's all of a sudden just a beast, which he always was. Epeneza's still showing up. You just look at the amount of weapons on this team and the fact that everyone's stepping up every time they need to, and it just makes this team better. And Josh is playing out of his freaking mind. He always plays well, but this is next level stuff. The way he's spreading out the ball, the way he's looking around the field, the way he's making smarter plays, right? It's not they ever made bad plays, but you don't see him forcing the throws 40 yards downfield anymore like he used to do. That was the thing that used to drive me nuts, is I know he's got a cannon, but we don't need to throw it to Gabe Davis 50 yards down the field when he's double covered and hope he's going to catch it. Because as much as I love Gabe, not always the best hands. And now that's not something we're looking to do. It's, okay, I know somebody's open somewhere, and if they're not, then my fallback is I'm going to take it and run it, which he's still doing and he's getting done, right? But he's being smarter about how he's playing. He's maturing to the point of that more seasoned quarterback that you expect to see. But he's also just getting flat out better. Statistically, he's showing it. And the fact that he's favored for MVP odds, again, a lot of weeks left to play, right? That can change in moment's notice. But if you go look at that list, and you see the guys on there, between him and Mahomes, there's no one even close right now. And part of that is because the way their teams are playing. Part of it is because of their statistics. And honestly, part of it is because they're quarterbacks. It's like the Heisman. You look at the Heisman, it's like most of the time, the Heisman Trophy winner is going to be a quarterback, unless you're Charles Woodson, for the most part. But they're going to usually be a quarterback most of the time. Maybe a running back. But MVP, those guys are the ones running the plays. They're deciding where the ball is going. And Josh Allen's doing a hell of a job this year with it and making Sean McDermott and Joe Brady look like absolute geniuses. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this team. I'm excited to see how the season continues to progress. A lot of season left to play. A lot of weird things going on in the NFL. I'm just surprised. Andy Dalton all of a sudden looks like a superstar again. Go figure. I thought the whole Carolina team was broken. Take out Bryce Young, you put in Andy Dalton, and all of a sudden it's like the problem is completely fixed. I don't know if that will stay. Bryce Young, he's not done. If anyone thinks that, I think you're crazy. This is not a Trey Lance situation where I think he just falls by the wayside. I think Bryce Young will get another shot, whether it's with Carolina or at some point some team does make an offer they can't refuse and moves him. You don't draft a guy that high and he doesn't end up getting a shot somewhere. And again, look at some of these guys. Look at Sam Darnold, right? He kind of faded into the dust and all of a sudden reemerges in Minnesota and he's got him 3-0. He's making that team a contender right now. Not sure that stays for the season, but who knows, right? Crazier things have happened. Geno Smith-Williams with the Jets. Sucked. Goes to the Seahawks. All of a sudden, he's a Pro Bowler. I mean, it's just the NFL is a weird thing, and sometimes you need to change the scenery. Diggs even looks better in Houston at the moment than he was on the back end of the season with the Bills. He wasn't getting the ball. He wasn't making plays, and he was just being vocal and kind of a drama queen about it. So I'm glad that we've moved on from that in these ways. And maybe that's part of the reason Josh is playing better. Maybe that's part of the reason why the team's playing better. You just don't know what you don't know, right? And that's what's exciting to see. Like, what other things are we going to uncover as the season goes on with this team? Because what they're doing already now is incredibly special. When you just see these guys stepping up, who's making the plays, who's getting the ball, what they're doing, and how they're going about doing it, right? And the thing I like the most is they're having fun. If you watch them, these guys are having fun. It's business, right? It's always business. But you can tell that they're enjoying what they're doing right now and that they're having fun and they're enjoying how they're going about doing their business. And we're not like a flashy team. We never have been. We're not like super flaunty. They're just quietly going about it and doing what they need to do. And they look damn good doing it. I mean, they just do. Like that game, nobody was stopping them in the first half. I don't care who you put on that field. They were not going to be denied. So my takeaways from this, if I'm the Jags, I'm probably considering moving Trevor Lawrence in some capacity, whether he gets benched or something else. They've lost the last 8 games him starting. It's not working. I don't like him anyway because he played at Clemson, not a Clemson fan. So I would never liked him anyway. So if he got benched, I wouldn't be sad. But honestly, that team needs to figure something out because you've got a good running back in ETN. You've got some decent receivers, and they're just not getting the job done there with Trevor Lawrence. So I think he's probably on a pretty short leash. I don't know what they'll do about that, but I think it might not be much longer that he's the starting quarterback in Jacksonville. Obviously, in Baltimore, we're going to be playing this weekend. We know who the quarterback is. We know him well, Lamar. So we'll see. This is going to be a big game because these are 2 top contenders in the AFC, right? It's usually the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills. So I'm excited for it. I'll break it down later this week, and we'll have another conversation. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm really enjoying the season way more than I thought at the beginning. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be hopefully the year Josh Allen finally gets his MVP. And maybe, just maybe, this is the year we finally get the trophy that we've been longing for so long, right? 3-0. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but if this is what's to come and we're this early into the season and this is how it's already looking, it's going to be special. It's going to be special. And think about it. We don't even have Milano back. Let's say he does come back in December, right? Throw him into the mix on defense. We got rid of a lot of older players that we had emotional attachments to, right? Diggs, Poyer, and it's hard when you lose those guys because they're captains and they mean a lot to the community. They mean a lot to the team. But now I look at the team and it's completely different personality and it's working, So to their credit, to McDermott's credit, to Bean's credit, the guy's a mastermind. I don't know how his brain works that way, but they are making very calculated moves and they're making the right moves. Even Keon Coleman. I was not happy when we traded out the first round. I was really not happy that, of course, we traded it to the Chiefs and they went and got Xavier Worthy. But man, I see Keon Coleman this weekend. I think, wow, here I am wrong again for doing something. You guys made the right call. I questioned it. I was so mad. I remember doing that media cast with Dolph and the rest of the fam and being furious about that. But here I am. I'll eat my words. I'll own it. I was wrong right now, right? Keon Coleman's legit. It was not a bad move. So I'll own that one. And I'm happy it's working out the way it is. James Cook still looks good. He still gets the job done when he needs to. He's putting up touchdowns this year, and that was one thing last year he struggled with was getting into the end zone. He's not having that problem so far this year. So as long as he can keep doing what he's doing as far as receiving, which, by the way, the one thing that drives me nuts is sometimes he'll miss those balls, and he had the one right in his hands, right there to catch. Now, granted, I probably would have dropped that too. But, you had gloves on, and that's your job. I was just so hoping he was going to catch that pass from Allen. But that's all right. It's not like it mattered in the grand scheme of things, but I just love seeing Cook get a lot of touchdowns because I'm a big fan of his. I mean, his brother's, well, I don't know. I don't think his brother's still in the NFL. Maybe he is for somebody, but his brother was a beast for Minnesota when he was back in his heyday. So, with that said, fam, I'm going to close this episode out. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you for coming on in and spending some time with me here tonight to talk about the Bills and talk about the Jaguars game. It was a great game. I mean, anytime you can walk away from game 47-10 on prime time and Josh Allen balls out, and basically half the team did, honestly, the entire team, 10 receivers, Josh Allen, setting all kinds of records as the first player to complete 75% of his passes, throw 4 touchdowns, lead the team in rushing, and no turnovers or sacks. You're doing something right. 4th largest margin of victory in Bills history. It's pretty impressive. At home, Damar Hamlin, first interception, right? Ray Davis, Keon Coleman, first touchdowns. And then Dorian Williams just being a wrecking crew still with 11 tackles to lead the team and 10-plus tackles the past 2 games. Guys are stepping up in a big way right now. And if we keep this momentum going, if we can keep this wagon circling, we're going to be in for a very fun, very exciting season with this team. And right now, I don't see a whole lot of threat in the AFC East. Dolphins, they don't have Tua. Skylar Thompson's not getting the job done. I'm not really scared about the Patriots. They've got their own problems in a lot of different ways to fix as far as personnel. And the Jets, I don't think they figured themselves out yet either. There's talent, but they just haven't seemed to put it all together. And right now, we got them coming up in a couple weeks. So, this is our opportunity to really, really make a statement, really get those wins. Because I always like getting these wins early in the season because you never know what's going to happen as the season progresses. So as long as we can keep racking them up now, great. It gives us a little bit of wiggle room. Big fan of that. So don't ever want to end up in the season 0-3 and then trying to play from behind. So right now we're putting ourselves in a great spot. One of 5 teams undefeated still. So, and I don't think most people expected that out of us. We'll just keep cooking, right? Let cook. Let Allen keep doing his thing and balling out, and we're going to be in good shape. So with that, appreciate you guys coming on in. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a great week, and I'll be talking to you guys soon. And beware the Stampede and go Bills. Thanks so much, everybody.